Cold calling is one of the most anxiety-creating, resilience-building activities you could ever do. Probably next to like jumping out of a plane. But let's say you're not going to jump out of a plane today, but you do have to do some phone sales. You do have to do some cold calling. This video is going to help you with the biggest issue that I see in phone sales every single day, especially where I live in the UAE, in the Middle East. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you the simplest fix to get better sales if you do any kind of cold calling. Now here's the problem with cold calling, is that most people are doing it wrong. And when I say wrong, what I mean is you are talking too much. Now this might be confusing, right? Because you might think, well, Muna, it's phone sales. I have a phone and a person on the other end of it. I have to speak to them. So how am I gonna not talk that much? How does that make sense? Here's how it makes sense. Because when you're on the phone with somebody, you can actually be doing two things. You can be talking or you can be listening. The problem is that you are probably doing this one more. You're probably talking way more than you're listening, right? And there's so many reasons why you're probably doing it. So for example, you might be really nervous. And when you're nervous, naturally you speak more, okay? You might also be new to the job. If you're new at cold calling, this is not going to be very easy for you. You're going to talk more than normal because you're probably nervous, and that's normal. Another reason you might be talking too much is maybe if you have an extroverted personality, then this is natural for you to over-explain and use a lot of words because you're thinking out loud. And the last reason, and probably the most dangerous one, why salespeople talk too much on the phone is because it probably makes you feel like you're doing your job, right? So do you ever feel like at the end of the day, you really put a lot of effort in because you explained so much over the phone and you really got your point across? But if you look at your numbers, how many people you spoke to and how many sales or how many meetings you've set, and that number is really low, it just doesn't add up. I'm explaining so much, I'm talking so much, I'm putting in all this effort, but the numbers aren't there. This is what I'm talking about. Now, the danger of speaking so much on the phone when you're doing cold calling is, number one, you're at high risk of losing the attention of the customer. Now, to understand a little bit more how to keep the attention of the customer, I recommend you watch this video, and it'll be in the description below. So when you're done with this video, go watch that video because that's going to show you how to keep the attention of the customer very quickly, all the time, starting from the beginning of the call. But the other danger you have of speaking too much is not only losing their attention, but pitching the wrong product or the wrong service. Because if you're the one that's doing most of the talking, that means the customer is not speaking, which means that you don't really know what's going on with the customer. I'll give you a perfect example. My husband gets phone calls from credit card companies all the time. And this is one of my favorite things to watch because the phone call usually goes like this. He'll answer the phone and the salesperson will explain who they are. And my husband immediately says, no, I'm not interested. And what happens? He goes quiet. Why? Because the salesperson starts talking and talking and talking and talking. And that's usually where I realize that this is a sales call because my husband is on the phone like this, silent, and he's looking at me going, and that's where I say to him, is that a sales call? And he goes, and the amount of time that he's quiet and the salesperson is talking is way too long because my husband's not listening. He's not listening anymore. This is the wrong technique. Now what happens? My husband is waiting because he's polite. And the salesperson finally stops speaking. And what does my husband say? No, thanks. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm not interested. Thank you. Okay. No, thank you. Thank you. I'm not interested. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. Every time. Every single time. Now here is the problem. Does my husband need another credit card? No. Would he get another credit card? Yeah. Do you hear what I just said? If you work for a bank, please listen to what I just said. Would he get another credit card? Yes. So why is he not? Because the salespeople that are calling my husband from so many different banks are not doing phone sales correctly. They are speaking forever and they're not asking him the right questions. So what are the right questions? Instead of talking all that time, the salesperson should be asking questions like, how much do you spend on groceries during the month? Are you interested in getting more benefits on your credit card? Are you interested in more cash back? Would you like to lower your interest rate? Any type of question that engages the customer is a smart question. But instead, most salespeople are just talking and talking and talking and talking. And maybe you even say things like, well, we have a low interest rate, we can give you better benefits, we can do this, we can do this. But those are statements, those are not questions. That is not something that is going to engage the customer. What you need to get a sale is you need the customer speaking back to you. If you're the only person speaking, then the sale is not going to happen because it has to be two ways. The customer has to engage with you. And when they engage with you, that's when you can make a sale. But if you're the only one talking, guess what the customer is doing? You don't even know what they're doing. You have no idea what the customer is doing because you're talking too much. Now, here's the secret. Here is the quick fix to make sure that your sales go up if you do cold calling or phone sales. Anytime you speak, it must be for less than 10 seconds. Yes, 10 seconds. And even on the phone, 10 seconds is a long time. So measure it next time. Literally put a timer on and say whatever you would normally say. Practice before you make a phone call. 10 seconds. But there's another part to this secret. The last thing that you say has to be a question. So the secret formula is this. You answer in 10 seconds and then you ask a question. And for more information on how to speak less and listen more, you can watch this video as well about the 80-20 rule, which is something you need to live by if you do phone sales. I hope you enjoyed this video about cold calling. I do these videos every week for you, absolutely free. And to help me keep it free, please share this video or one of my others with somebody that you think is going to benefit from these tips. I'll see you next week.